Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for this video here today at Altnabreac. Before I start this video, could I please ask you all to like this video, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you will subscribe to this channel. And I hope also with this interesting information that we want to cover with you here today, it'd be great if you maybe leave some comments down and give us your thoughts on what you think on the subject matter that we're going to cover. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump straight into it. So, imagine being told you don't own your own driveway anymore, but months before the government holds a high-level meeting to buy it back from you. Well, welcome to our life with Network Rail and their ever-changing stories.
Yes, we did.
So you would have just seen that little clip of one of the Network Rail workers, one of the big guns. A lot of you who are familiar with this channel, you would recognise him and who he is. So you would have just heard him say, "You do not own that driveway." So that's that's been up in a few of the videos in the past, and it's a very strong statement that Network Rail made, all of a sudden claiming to own our driveway and claiming that we do not. Okay, so in this video I'm exposing how Network Rail has claimed ownership of our driveway, but back in 2023 they had a high-level compulsory buyback order meeting to purchase it. Now this raises serious legal, ethical and public accountability questions. Because in November 2023, Network Rail attended a high-level Scottish Government meeting to explore forcibly buying our driveway. But yet months later, they changed their tune and claimed they already owned it. So obviously their intent was to acquire the driveway via a compulsory buyback order. Why? Because they had no right in law to access the station. They needed our permission. Now, when the Scottish Government held that high-level compulsory purchase order meeting in November 2023, the reasons reported in the Times newspaper was crystal clear. Now, these reports were both on the 19th of November and the 21st of November 2023. And the reasons were that Network Rail needed access to Altnabreac Station, and that meant using our driveway. Now, only one major newspaper reported directly on the Altnabreac compulsory purchase order proposal. Now, that was the Times newspaper, and it was the only newspaper that reported on that. Now, in consideration that all the other local or regional newspapers, such as the John O'Groat Journal and the Northern Times, they've extensively reported and covered on every single thing that's happened here. The wider access dispute, the station closure, reopening, the legal proceedings, political reactions, but none explicitly reported on the compulsory purchase order proposal itself, as the Times did. Now ask yourself why. So you wanted to say something at this point, didn't you, Liz?
Yeah, I just want to say what we think is that Network Rail want everybody to forget that meeting ever took place.
Now other sources, such as Wikipedia, they refer back to that Times article. Then, don't forget, in less than a year after this was reported, Network Rail claim to own our driveway. Now, while the action was ongoing, they changed their tune again and suddenly claimed they had access all along over the pedestrian public right-of-way, and yet built a new footpath, which I will now show you. A lot of you will remember the machines that are in here. I'll probably put a few clips just to remind anyone that hasn't seen those videos what they did to come in here. Network Rail, corrupt, fraudulent devils, just like BTP, their private security force. So this is the new footpath they installed. So now Network Rail claim that they have a right of way over our driveway to access the station. But they're actually using a public footpath right of way over our land for commercial and operational use. Now this is the public footpath that comes in through this pedestrian right of way to access the public footpath over our private land, and it runs up along the side of our driveway, as a lot of people would have seen already in our previous videos. But what Network Rail are actually doing, they're using a public footpath right of way over our land for commercial and operational use. And that is unlawful, or at least a misuse of the public right of way over private land, which is intended for pedestrian access for members of the public only, not railway staff, not contractors or equipment. Now this footpath exists for the public to walk on, not for Network Rail to send in contractors or carrier equipment or carry out commercial railway operations. That's not what this public right of way is for. They're now using a civilian pedestrian right of way for a railway company's access route. That's not legal. It's not what this right of way was created for. You can walk on it and that's it. It's a footpath. You can't drive, deliver or operate business functions, especially not for railway works. This is commercial misuse of rights of way by Network Rail. So we're calling for Network Rail and the Scottish Government to publish minutes and correspondence from the November 2023 Compulsory Purchase Order meeting. And we also encourage people to make a Freedom of Information request on this matter. They didn't just want our driveway, they wanted all the land with Station House. The most important piece of land that they want to get their hands on is this piece you're looking at right now. Now this is the piece of land that they plan on extracting all of the timber, hundreds of thousands of tons out of this place, using all of this land here, which is known in the paper they've called it the loading bay. The previous occupier used to use this piece of land to run his scrap and also sleeper business. He had unfettered use of it and he used it for years. So this is the main piece of land that they're trying to dispossess us of, which is within the solemn ownership of Station House. So yeah, this is the main piece of land they're trying to get their hands on. And when we first moved here, we seen a pile of guys almost running down into this piece of land down this track. We were down on that piece of land at the time they arrived. There was probably about 10 or 15 of them, and a lot of them were German, and they all had big smiles on their faces, rubbing their hands, talking about this big 400-ton train that was going to be coming, taking the wood out of this loading bay for them. This is going back almost 4 years now. Now this company was called Aquila. Massive company, absolutely huge. They're the ones that own this place really, even though Caledonia Forest Land Investment Limited are on the registered papers and stuff. It's Aquila. We've met the real owners. of all of this, and we know their intentions. They let it slip when they first met us. But that's another story, and we'll be getting into that soon enough. However, Network Rail fixated on the driveway because they needed access. They needed it to access the station. They had no other way. Now, though, they've abandoned the buyback plan, and instead they claim they already had the right of access, although they're using a public footpath right of way over our driveway. Now, this undermines both their original justification for the compulsory purchase order and their ownership right of way claim now. So they're just speaking out of every side of the mouth that they possibly can, aren't they, Liz?
That's right. They just keep changing tactics. When one plan fails, they just move to another one.
So just to reiterate, on the 21st of November 2023, the Times reported that a high-level meeting was scheduled for the following Monday. Attendees were to include British Transport Police, Network Rail, Police Scotland, ScotRail, politicians and business leaders. The purpose? To explore issuing a compulsory buyback order aimed at acquiring the Altnabreac Station House from Ian Appleby and his partner in order to restore access to the station platform. So just a few questions that I'd like you to ask yourselves. And if you have any more questions that you think are relevant and you think should be asked, please post them down in comments. If Network Rail already owns our driveway, what is the legal or procedural basis for considering a compulsory purchase or buyback order? What legal standard or precedent allows a government agency to initiate a compulsory purchase process on land it already asserts ownership of? So we are going to request through a subject access request or a freedom of information request a minutes to the meeting, to this high-level government meeting that was reported, as we were not invited or even made aware of its ongoing until we read the newspaper report. So after we made aware of the newspaper report, we wrote to Raymond Bremner, a local councillor. Well, Liz did, and he ignored us, didn't he, Liz?
That's right. So we discovered that this high-level meeting was taking place about our property in the newspaper. As soon as we discovered that, I contacted Raymond Bremner, which is a Highland councillor that was participating in that meeting, asking him why we weren't invited to participate, and raised our concerns about the lack of transparency. Mr. Bremner didn't bother replying to me.
Yeah, I mean, there was a massive lack of transparency, high-level meetings with no community consultation. There was no formal notification of a CPO being considered, certainly not to us. So we'd like to ask for the statement of reasons if a CPO, if it was being prepared. Now that is a formal document that's required by law. Also, not to mention in the other videos, the abuse of power, using legal threats or police action, trespass, obstruction to intimidate.
So you're threatening me if I don't move the car off my driveway, you're going to arrest me, yeah? Because... Just yes or no? Yes, because... Okay, I'll move it.
So the abuse of power, using legal threats or police action, with threats of trespass, obstruction, to intimidate us. So let's just state the obvious here now. Network Rail tried to buy our land. They couldn't. So instead, they simply said that they did own it. They tried to buy land they now claim they already own. They said that they had no access, then pretended they always had it. And now they're using a public footpath meant for walking to run railway operations and use equipment and staff to access across our private property. Now, throughout this whole ordeal, Network Rail have contradicted their own legal positions over and over, quietly shifting strategies when challenged. let's not forget, they've got whole legal teams behind them. They've got endless pockets. Money's not an issue to them at all. You know, they've literally got all the money in the world. And unfortunately, you know, it's not what it should all be about. They're using the weight of the government and police power to intimidate private citizens. Now, this isn't just our problem. This is how public bodies like Network Rail operate when they think no one's watching. Like in courts with closed doors where it's forbidden to record, where words and agreements are conveniently forgotten or misinterpreted every next time you attend. The only times the agreements and words are not forgotten or misinterpreted is when it's in Network Rail's favour or interest. Thanks for watching, guys, and we hope that you comment on this video and let us know what your thoughts are about the compulsory purchase order. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you wouldn't have heard about that. It's
trying to keep it quiet.
They're trying to keep it quiet, and that's obvious. So thanks, guys. We hope you're all well. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Please like this video and share it. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.